The measure always and everywhere has to be, in a free society, in an honest society, in a decent society, is it true? Truth has to be a defense. And it used to be our first defense. You would say, well, in fact, there was a guy who used to say, facts don't care about your feelings. He's changed his views on that recently. But that remains true. The facts matter most. And even more important than the facts, the truth of the facts. What do they mean? That's the most important thing. And it used to be, you could say, well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I always say to my children, never tell the truth about other people in their presence because it can really hurt them. I told my kids to lie. The only lies that hurt people are the true ones, the only attacks. Don't call the fat girl fat, that's cruel. But in the end, that's a function of politeness. I was telling my children to be polite, to care about the feelings of others, which I think is super important. But as a legal matter and a cultural matter, you cannot punish people for telling the truth, period. Or else you become an empire of lies. In every sense, both in a literal sense and in a spiritual sense. That is just true. And if you are governed by people who actively hate the truth and who lie for the sheer animal thrill of doing so, you are living in a dark time under very dark people. And the stakes are the ultimate stakes. It's not about who gets elected. It's about what happens to the world and your soul. And so my advice, what can you do about that? It's a very action-oriented, practical country. So people are always like, well, what can you do? I have no freaking idea what you can do. Write your congressman, he's not going to read your letter. Go to your school board meeting, you're going to get arrested. I think you should do it anyway. I think you should tell the truth anyway. I think the only way to stay alive and fully human in a moment like this is to resolve that you are going to tell the truth in every and all circumstance. And if you can't say it out loud, stay silent. If it's going to hurt the feelings of someone you love, that's an absolutely justifiable reason to be quiet. But in every other circumstance, whether you're standing in carpool line with all the fashionable ladies in your neighborhood at the stupid private school, no offense, I sent my kids to one too, I hate them. Or whether you're at a dinner party, or whether your wife's friends are over in their Soul Cycle outfits talking about something and you disagree, there's a way to do it. You can be gentle, you can be empathetic, and you always should be. But you should never allow yourself to repeat anything that you know is not true. That will destroy you. That is the mark not of a free man or a citizen, but of a slave. That is the difference between freedom and slavery, is the right to say what you actually think. That is the line. And anyone who is trying to force you to lie is A, your enemy, and B, believes that you are subhuman. Because that's not the way you treat adults. By definition, you have to deal with adults. They may have different views, different interests, different goals, and you have to contend with them through the aforementioned process of politics, through negotiations. I want this, you want that, let me convince you. You are not allowed to say to a free adult citizen, shut up, you must do this. Under no circumstances can you do that. You can't do that in the middle of a pandemic. You can't do that in the middle of a war. You can't do that under any circumstances, or else you are no longer a citizen, you are a slave. And worse than that, you have degraded yourself. And that's the real cost. Clearly the people who run things see the rest of us as slaves. That's obvious to me. I can't imagine how it could be more obvious. It's crystal clear. They don't seek consensus. They're not interested in the public's opinion. The overlap between the list of things that people care about in this country and the list of things that Congress and the White House actually do, there's none. There's no overlap at all. And by the way, this is not my opinion. This is Gallup public opinion polling. Go look at the last 10 Gallup polls on what Americans care about and compare those to the policy priorities of your government. They're not the same. They don't care what you think. They're not interested in what you think. That's publicly available information. They're not reading it because they don't want to, because it doesn't matter to them. They're in charge, you're not. So the truth is, it's very hard to fight that. I'm not exactly sure how, but I know that it begins with the strength inside you. If you are weak, you will never prevail. And that explains their determined effort to make you weak by feeding you poisonous garbage, by trying to make you take medicine that is not at all medicine, by their insistence that you shut up and hate yourself, by their claim that your children are not your own. They have no interest in you having dignity. In fact, your dignity and strength is a threat to them. That's why they closed the gyms and kept the weed dispensaries open. That's why the churches were shut down, but the strip bars weren't. And I'm not attacking strip bars in Vegas. I'm merely saying, what is that? And of course, it's a determined, systematic effort to weaken the population in order to limit their resistance to what they plan for us. Obviously, oh, you're a conspiracy nut. No, I just have lived here for the last 4 years. And that just could not be more obvious. And so I'm not calling for armed insurrection. I hope it doesn't get to that. I'm calling instead for a population that becomes stronger inside. And also outside. You know, physically stronger. I think that's worth it. But it's more than that. It's retaining your dignity and your self-respect. And by the way, when you allow people to lie to you without saying anything, when you're too afraid because of whatever you're, and I've been there, I had 4 kids young, and I've been fired a bunch. You may have heard. Not the first time I've been fired at all. And I had to sell my house because I ran out of money. I'm not, not doing the woe is me thing. I'm just saying, like, that happens. It's not the worst thing. It's fine, actually, as long as you're married to someone who can handle it. And if you're not, that's probably your fault. You should try harder to explain it and rally the troops at home. But the point is, getting fired, being unpopular, maybe even getting arrested, those are not the worst things that can happen to you. The worst thing that can happen to you is becoming a slave inside. And I will quote the great Jimmy Cliff. I would rather be a free man in my grave than live as a puppet or a slave. And I think we should all want that. And it's not hard, actually. You don't need to, start a rebellion or order ammo on the internet, though you should. LuckyGunner.com. But, no, it's much more fundamental than that. Don't let them take your dignity. And your dignity is rooted in your sense of self as a free person. I'm a free person. You may not do that to me. You don't have to shout. I'm not going to do that. And there's literally nothing you can do to make me do that. I don't want to be killed, but I'm willing to be, because I don't want to live like that. In fact, I won't, and I've already decided. And if you actually make that decision, and if you mean it, a couple of things will happen. The first thing that will happen is that your marriage will improve, especially if you're a man. No woman, and I know there are women, I don't have my glasses on, but I know there are women here. No woman wants to be married to a man who will take that kind of abuse. I'm sorry, just doesn't. There's no woman who wants that. No, it's true. And most of them are pretty nice, and so they won't say anything about it. But their respect for you will diminish, and why wouldn't it? And the same with your children. Same with your children. So that's the first thing that's going to happen. And the second thing that happens is the more you tell the truth, the stronger you become. And you can feel the change happening inside. And you don't have to believe in the supernatural. I happen to. But you don't even have to understand, and I don't really understand, where that comes from or why, or where that power emanates from. But I've experienced it, and anyone who has told the truth experiences it too, instantly. In the same way that lying and crappy behavior and being drunk all the time, I've been there too, makes you weaker, telling the truth makes you stronger, and you can feel it. It's like a superpower. Did I just do that? And other people can feel it too. They can smell it. Dogs can smell it. The person who tells the truth is strong. Other people respect the strong. And then it just increases from there. And the third thing that happens over time, if you tell the truth persistently, quietly, gently, politely, not spray painting it on buildings, just no, in a dignified way, no, I'm not doing that, sorry. And here's why. If you're interested, I'll tell you, but I'm a free man and I'm not doing that, ever. The third thing that happens if you adopt that posture is that they will back off. Because liars are weak. They are weak and afraid. They can't even admit that the president's senile. They are hiding behind a facade of lies. But the operative word, the verb in that sentence is hiding. They're hiding. Who hides? Weak people hide. Scared people hide. People who can't stand sunlight hide. That's who hides, and that's exactly what they're doing. They are weak, and they are afraid of the population. And I'm sad to say the population has given them very little reason to be afraid. But they're still afraid because they know they're doing wrong. They know they're serving lies. They know nothing they do or say is justifiable, can withstand scrutiny. And on some animal level, they are terrified of the day that the average person, not some stupid talk show host, but the average person who works at some big dopey company and shuffles to work every day in some pod with a drop ceiling and fluorescent lighting, that guy is going to be like, no, I'm not going along with it, sorry. I'm not going to the DEI meeting today because I don't think you should discriminate people on the basis of their race. How's that? Because it's immoral, actually. And we've got a monument on the mall that shows that it's immoral. It's to Martin Luther King. And that was his core message. We're not going to discriminate against people on the basis of their skin color, period, for any reason. It's always wrong. This is immoral. I'm not participating. If enough people do that and things like it, this whole nonsense will end immediately. That's the one thing they can't handle. You don't have to take to the streets. You don't have to take Saturday off to hold a candle, carry some stupid spray-painted sign on a bed sheet. All you need to do is tell the HR lady, I'm opting out, and here's why. And I hope you will. Thank you.